Martin.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for inviting us to come to our house. A reader poem. It's called The Human Cannonball. It was my job to test the air. Stick a wet finger among the zephyrs, spray spittle in the breeze, check where it fell. Years back we had a windsock when money was good and folk had wine and whiskey to spare. It was my job to test the cannon, check for hairline fractures, oil the moving parts, reseal the rubber air hose. On Monday mornings I would take it all to pieces, dismantle, clean, oil, lubricate, reassemble in tip-top working order. My hands know every blemish, each repair. They feel the function of the beast. My wife is the human cannonball. She is my fifth wife, and I love her more when she flies, solid and fixed above the ground. Love her less on terra firma, holding my hand, tickling my toes. Like all human cannonballs, she's a devil for the tickling. In turn, she's ticklish as a goat herself. She loves me enough to check the angle of delivery, to check the explosive charge. We all know she loves me too much. My hands know every blemish, each repair. They feel the function of the beast. I've been blessed with 5 wives. My first was a human cannonball. My second was a human cannonball. My third wife also was a human cannonball. My fourth wife was a trainee lion tamer, and that's a sad story. None of us ever mention the children. My wife now is my beloved human cannonball. I read the poem that's in the magazine. The genesis of that goes way back to when I came down from Newcastle to London, and I got a job in the civil service, and working at big offices with like loads and loads of people there. And in the second or third week that I started work, there was a leaving do, and this woman, the woman who she was retiring, she used the leaving do as the moment to basically settle all her scores for her entire career. And I thought I would never see them like that again. And then a couple of years ago, the same thing happened. I was working in a university. I was teaching there, and I wasn't having a great time there myself. But another lecturer left, and just on the day of leaving, just tore into the people who worked with, which was that was extraordinary. There's a little quote from Paul Ricoeur. I like Paul Ricoeur because I'm a sociologist by training, and Paul Ricoeur is a sociologist, but he gives up. He allows for agency far more than what sociologists do. So he does. People have the power to do their own things. And he says to talk about narrative and ties. Looking back from the conclusion to the episodes leading up to it, we have to be able to say that this ending required this sort of event and this chain of action. So it's called Finishing Work. Pent, stillness borrowed from movie scripts, where dignity remains on the cards. Dumb foolscap pages, wringing the trauma dry, just voiding hope before a rush, a sugar-fueled exit strategy. The really real never resembles films. That ending, that child plucked out, a gifted moment smiles on the house. Helena burned urgent violence crisscrossing the staff canteen, displaced co-workers, scattering skedaddle like ants caught unawares from the spits of an out-of-control bonfire. No hip, 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 hooray route to happy last minutes of grace. No full goodery. Helena's moment, a blast fury hit. Endings make their linear sense out of nonsense. Cuts, explosions, the fist as credits roll, as pent up. Let's go. It's okay, I will come Cheers, thank you. This panel when it came out was a bit unexpected. I wasn't expecting to publish anything. I haven't published anything for a long, long time. Most of the panel, I moved out of London down to Sussex, and living in the countryside in the middle of nowhere, and I've always hated the countryside, so that's sort of it comes out further. There's a lot of sort of stuff going back to where we used to live, and then to the house where we are now, which we sort of it was a bit run down, so I ended up sort of knocking down a lot of it and then rebuilding it, which was it sort of played on my mind. I think it was a stressful sort of thing. It's called the New Cosmopolitan. Bizarrely, there's lots of almost like DIY poetry, like building poetry, and it's because that's what was playing on my mind at the time. So it feeds into this. It feeds into some other poems more. I read this one because I like this one. It's called the New Cosmopolitan. In the chambers below our house, I hear the mad footfall of albino pit ponies whose descendants were abandoned as the new men of the 19th century gained a toehold on wealth and culture. Those great big tea families and their museums of lust. Would you ever get over those horny Victorian men, rooms full of stuffed animals and distinctive headwear? Today I shot wood pigeon across the old paddock. Development notices and the perimeter. Development notices stud the perimeter. Planning gain deals on the cards. We expect kiddies rides and all new mini roundabout in return for small scale development. Bungalows, asked my neighbours. The parish put its foot down at social housing, and that, they assure me, has to be a blessing. I took out 2 pigeons, but only retrieved the first. Stupid greyhound, rescued from the...
And now, Tim Cumming's going to read some work.
Thanks for coming. It's a great magazine. I really enjoy it. The format, the artwork, typography, production, the content. So it's great to be in it. I'm going to start off with this was a program called Lessons of the Bullingdon Club, which was in issue 1, which is now completely sold out, I understand, in private hands. So we understand, you will understand the coalition's aim is basically to roll back public spending levels to before the beginning of the welfare state, while their own spending levels probably go sky high. Here are the lessons of the Bullingdon Club. We were all in this together, and there was nothing the police could do but apologise. The trick was to create diversion. The jargon of class and income. The big house bound by blood ties and schooling. Executive positions. Traffic backed up to the shires. Our agents piling through the din beneath Westminster, looking for what exactly? What charm had been lost? It was time to route the lines of power back to a position we could understand without flinching. We've let you dance, we'd say, and now it is time for you to listen. and you're going to listen for a very long time indeed, and it will cost you. And this poem, Body Politic, is from this latest issue. Again, it's looking at sort of, policy by time travel, really. Going back, this poem goes back to the early 1800s when Napoleon was a hero to the English poor and working class, that he might bring them liberation from the poor laws of the politics of the period. So in Body Politic, I'm going back in time and having trouble getting there. The current was too strong. Our submersible beached on the poor laws of the 1800s. Corn dolls and rickets in the new body politic. The land falling open like a bestiary of watchmen with spy glasses gazing from the tower, fathoming the future. Lookouts notating tree ring data and haunted rookeries. New migrations pointing to a sea change. Ice core sediments, rich and strange. Gangster argot blowing from the east with a bend in the blue note, circling the planet from first call to last note boat. Silk screens packed with storm-damaged gods, rough sleepers on souls ecliptic. We climbed onto the flood defences and surveyed our position, having lost our way in the ballad tradition. Cries of London in a spiritualist's diaphragm. All around us, the stalls and gods rock with laughter. To find out more, click this picture. The body politic shudders in a cloud of squid tincture. There's a poem here called, it's about Voyager 1 that left the solar system. It was launched in 1977, and it's the spacecraft which has a gold disc with a sort of man and woman on it, and recordings like from Bach, Chuck Berry, and Louis Armstrong. Years ago, I was talking to a guy called Bob Copper. He's a famous folk singer of the Copper family who lived down in Rottingdean in Sussex. And in 1931, he went to the Brixton Academy to go and see Louis Armstrong on his first visit to London. And Louis Armstrong just left Chicago, so there was a little bit of trouble there, so he thought he'd come and play in Europe. And Louis' trumpet is on that, it's now sailing out of our solar system with that little craft, and it's still pinging back. And so this is just wrapping on that really, almost infinite travel. It's called Now Voyager. Launched in 1977, Voyager 1 has now left the solar system. As we watch, computerized extras mingle with super cool hydrogen atoms, dancing at the door of the Rivoli Music Hall, 1593. Olfactory time warp, drifting over the Brockwell Lido with the swing of a chorus line. Lips unsealed, keys cut. First door on the left takes you back to the pleasure gardens of Vauxhall by the twitch of a curtain. Your name in the mould of the mouth of a street balladeer. A flash of torches, and you're heavy with dishes of well-hung game. The day darkening with sack and mercury drops, thickening the pot in the port of London. Mayflower pilgrims rolling over the waves in the ship's clock. Compass dancing with the devil-may-care fever of angels and demons lacing the air where the wharf still smells of sugar and spices. A semaphore of animal tracks, trade routes and counting devices. Straight lines down the back of beyond. old hands climbing young hair from wind-blown ocean voyages, narcotic night watches. Our heart, the hero, leaping from one balcony to the next, all the way down to Tierra del Fuego. Baby's cry shaking into an old blues singer's voice on Magazine Street, 1920s New Orleans. Fire in the blood and ash in the grate. Armstrong's trumpet sailing by freight, smoking in a barrel at Brixton Academy, 1931, gathering up the ribbon of a tune and wrapping it round a gold disc in the fuselage of Voyager 1 as it passes through the Oort cloud from the solar system, our faintest grain of exploration. The mind is a dim star encased in bone, sending word after word of its position. The frosted glass of a 1960s office door, 13th floor. The city at night from a hardwood desk with locked drawers and a phone extension, beige. There's a face at the window, but no one's in the room. Fire stairs twist from basement to boardroom. Every floor dark and vacant, caked in dust, rising in astonishment when anyone enters. But who does? I'm alone here, feeling like Ozymandias. I hear a far-off telephone ring, then stop and start again. But it can't be the case, because this block's deserted, marked for demolition. I hear my name echoing from hallway to atrium. Footsteps on the fire escape, trace scent of cigarettes and perfume. Where the hell did that come from? In an office building at night, 13 stories above the passion play of headlamps and brake lights. You see what you want to see. Diesel fumes agitating dust and the spirits of the air. Sand from the Sahara carried here by a giant wind that leans close, speaks softly in your ear like a returning lover, passing quietly from room to room. The observable movements of Venus form a pentagram. As above, so below. I see my face buckling in the window, the very image of a spirit rising from its tomb. So this is how Carter felt, breaking the seal on Tutankhamun. Time fills up space the way water fills an aquarium. The static line, the snake's hiss of background microwave radiation. Creatures of the murky dark, dimly seen through frosted glass in an empty office building at night. The key turns in the lock. Who is coming through it? It's you, but not as you expected yourself to be. And you know it.
You will never ever see that ever again.
One time.
Nice one, Tim. Thank you very
Clutches
much.
of pet rescue liberals doesn't yet understand about whose meat is whose. Anyway, it's only for this foodie business. Pigeon breasts, the new byword in delicacy. heart and livers for the sauce. My new woman has city tastes. She thinks all these fancy chefs are the best thing since sliced bread. Every night I am wakened by the clatter of hooves. She hears nothing. Sometimes, when the orders...
Okay, and it's really, really amazingly exciting to be in Boscombe Revolution. And there's some brilliant poems and part of it, and I'm just really proud to have my poem here. Okay, this is a poem about a half a day's ration for a soldier in Afghanistan, and what that means. A soldier's dinner. Oiled boot shine, hand touched by boy tears. Cookies, M&Ms dripping out for time. Dream, tick-tock, tootsies. Pound cakes fighting for warmth. The clunk of peanut butter jelly. Radio impaled by mashed metal. Surface of bare arms in heat. Cheese spread cold. I moulded my sweat to your national eye, Gatorade-like mixes, a 50 caliber song spitting your dark trench radar. Heartbeat, syncopated to your shaking, bullets, ricochet coffee wall, blatting, tea, trigger, sparking hunger, phantom pain of a child soldier. Speaking tongues of discipline dipped in chemical toilet paper, money crank pit, melted spoon, dead matches, gassed name tags, etc. Salt, sugar, cocoa shakes, hot sauce, incontinence, toast over our bodies. This is a different kind of a poem. It's called Sunday Morning Words. This room isn't meant to be blue. It's meant to be any colour except horsetail loose in a changeable winter sky. At night, it closes in on me, presses my temples. The bed drips with dark matter, fallen stars. Navy shadows grind and lust seeps from the walls. The sheets heave and cough with your breath. Sleep is a temptress who is always out of reach. And then your cold machinery presses into me. You move my arms into position and clamp me tight. Ants begin to run up my legs. My skin feels suddenly greasy. I freeze. Inhaled by you, I no longer exist. My empty nightshirt lies on the bed, and as you absorb me, you become thinner and thinner. I don't seem to be able to write sort of like calm, sweet poems very often, although I have, anyway. But you have to remember that I'm not my poems. My poems are their own thing. Okay, Daddy's Dance. Dance to your daddy, my little one. I was there, Daddy. I didn't mind. I like looking like a boy. Thou shalt have a fishy on a little dishy. He would sing in his Geordie accent to me. I especially liked to hear him sing, sometimes, until he would get more and more crazy with his voice, until you couldn't tell if he was human, and he would saunter into the garden and signal to the aliens, upper body swinging with his pyjamas immodestly open. What could I say? I was 8 years old. I would protest, say stop it or turn away, and remember that the last line of the song was always the best. This pause, and it's just so good that you just have to have a go with it. But it's not as easy to use. Although it's only got 3 buttons, it's quite a fun thing. When I was growing up, my mother would call my dad David, and it was like, David, 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 David. And this poem's called David's Game. Something crashed downstairs. I run down, and a door slams upstairs. I race back upstairs, eyes wide. I try to open the door, but I've locked it and hidden the key from myself. So I have to try the next door. It usually opens onto my bedroom, but inside is my dead father's memorial chamber. Ear splitting, the house screams. I spin around, the walls are leaning and swaying. They're torn away. Behind me, the door booms shut. I hear wind chimes downstairs, and I know that somebody has entered the house. I try again to get into my bedroom, and there he is, sat beside his coffin, drinking a can of lager. He says, "Where are my tears? I can't go till you fill that coffin with them." He flicks the coffin with his hand. The wall falls away from the side of the room, and he's moved. This time, he's lying in his coffin, and he's drunk, and he's singing, and he's laughing. And my other job, I should say my normal job is that I teach Kung Fu. It's my ordinary job. And I'm also a mum, so this poem's called Fu Mum. For God's sake, I'm not trying to shock. Just turn this off. For God's sake, I'm not trying to shock or make a point, but I do enough fucking cooking at home. So when I come away, I want to pick up a sword or a pole or whatever I can get my dirty little hands on and chop the air and shout and get all primal till sweat pours down the sides of my face and I get all fucking red and my lungs burn and I make you look twice. Just don't get in my way when I'm in a slashing, cutting frame of mind.
Hey.
So that was a new poem. I've never read that one anywhere, and I haven't this one either. And Saraswati is a Hindu goddess of water and wisdom. And so this is the last poem. I hope you've enjoyed them all. We'll have another go with this crazy box. It's called Saraswati Murmurs. The hills were brazen and sweating. I saw outcrops of stone homes to sadhus who had painted blue hands the size of elephants, cupping the curves of great white boulders. My legs trembled over the pedals. Mary waned, pale as snow, wilting in the sun, melted into a taxi full of people and disappeared. Bison eyed me. Palm trees pointed their fanned leaves in my direction. Freewheeling down to an enormous opal of water, I was burning to dive in. Saraswati murmured, "Follow," gave a tail. My reeds brushed relief, strong of rest, power, arms, life. Who are you? Unknown. Reaching the far, my feet, my tail and side. Dark, with names, water snakes came, prospect, foliage threatened. A dark step onto soft mud and slipped underwater. I wanted, turned, water, my body, the call of my name. So thank you.
It crosses my mind I'm living in the fast lane. I'm plugged in to the in crowd. But those pit ponies make me twist like a young horse under orders, Head and neck snapped back to an epileptic number, saliva seeping from his mouth. If this was the start of a race, it would be a cavalry charge. And I read the sort of the flip side. This goes back to sort of it's more southeast London. It's called Kebab Town. There's a sort of road that comes out of Catford. And it's just a big lane. It doesn't go anywhere particularly. That's where the home is. Kebab Town. I was born here. I will die here. Kebab Town will remain here. I am Kebab Town, and Kebab Town is me. Nobody ever leaves Kebab Town. No bright young things full of promise break their mammy's heart, packing their bags, taking the first train out of here, the first train anywhere. I'm tattooed across the heart with Kebab Town. My horse only knows the Kebab Town road. Nobody's ever returned to Kebab Town. Nobody has ever passed through, been taken aback by the picturesque streets and thought, one day I shall be a Caledonian. There's never been anything to impress. There are no monuments, no museums, no benches endowed by local worthies. Signposting for visitors is limited to the point of non-existence. There are no visitors. The Queen, the Prime Minister, the Minister of State for Public Highways, every royal poodle, soap star, has-been model have made their excuses. There's never been an official visit. There is no red carpet, no banqueting suite. The mayor does not possess a ceremonial badge. School children have never waved flags or had an unexpected day off. Kebab Town is not like that. My horse is tattooed with Kebab Town across his heart. He knows the Kebab Town road like I know the Kebab Town road. There is much I have in common with my horse. He was born in Kebab Town and he will die in Kebab Town. My horse is Kebab Town and Kebab Town is my horse. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. I just want to say thanks to Paul for inviting me down. We've come down from London today. I've never been to Portugal, so it's always nice to get to see the country. We're thinking about revolution and sound. When I saw the brief for this, I thought that's perfect for me because I'm something of a unrepentant sort of punk fan. I think it makes my girlfriend despair. Have been for a long, long time. It's probably where I've got most of my politics, my sort of outlook on life, which is probably maybe a bit of a sad thing to say, but that's the thing that turned me on to everything I became interested in after that, including the writing. So for me, it's that sort of year zero kind of thing. And that's what inspired the piece I've written for Boscombe Revolution. It is very short though, so first of all I'm going to read an extract at the beginning of a short story that's coming out in August from Troll magazine. And I think the themes fit the theme of this issue of Boscombe. It's called Coming On Strong, and I think all I want to say about it is it's about waking up, and it's an I narrator, but it's not me. You're going to have to imagine me as a 22-year-old woman from Bristol. I got bored of writing male characters, basically, and about myself. I thought I'd try someone who wasn't from London, who wasn't male, who wasn't my age. So I'm just going to read the first bit of this story called Coming On Strong. I'm at the bottom of a grassy bowl, a few miles out from Winchester, the blazing sun dipping crimson below farmland that stretches out for miles beyond the fence perimeter. Jacketed young men and women lean bored and fluorescent against the method mesh fencing. Half of them, at least, are volunteers, supposed to be stewarding the crowd. They're only here for the free ticket, the 2 shifts they've signed up for guarantees. High-vis revellers on pause, doing a bad job, unsteady on their feet. Everywhere I can smell the mingle of warm earth and green grass squashed underfoot. The sharp tang of sweat from 1,000 unwashed. Blue cigarette smoke, spilled cider, cut with countryside breeze and flecked with pollen. Trees have a smell, and I can smell them. PK's laid on the yellow ground, arms stretched out like a dropout messiah, trying to leave a lasting imprint on the earth. He's grinning to himself, exhaling smoke and staring up into the sky, through the atmosphere and into space. Dub from a nearby tent sends shockwaves through the soil. I feel it in my bones. Living things dance in the air. I crush a mosquito that feeds on my intoxicated blood. Its body smears across skin. PK, get up, you Wally, I shout, not really meaning it. I'm just happy to be here, away from Bristol, from the hiss and the caffeine of work, from rain and concrete. PK's a space cadet, but he says he loves me. He waves, but doesn't get up. I've got a bit of a buzz on. I want to talk about anything and everything. Next to me there's a couple, somewhere in their mid-30s, keeping an eye on their little girl who runs about doing cartwheels and diving headfirst onto the yellow grass. She's having a great time, I say, out of nowhere, suddenly embarrassed. The mother looks up at me, sunlight glinting off her lip ring. She smiles and sort of squints. The dad doesn't seem to notice, his head nodding to a repetitive bass line. Should I think I'm a bad parent for bringing a kid to one of these places? Because I don't. First time we brought her to one of these, she's just about old enough now. It's all a bit of a trip down memory lane for me and Simon, isn't it, Si? She punches her partner gently on the shoulder. He looks around and says, "What, mate?" I was saying to this young thing here, this is all a bit of a trip down memory lane for us, isn't it? What's your name, darling? The last bit directed at me. Jess. I'm Adriana, Aid for short. She speaks with the flattened vowels and watered down Cockney of the Thames estuary. I like her immediately. I sit down next to them and take the cigarette Simon automatically offers to me. Their little girl continues cartwheeling and yelling at the yellow sun. I explain to them how this is my first time here, how much I'm enjoying it, how I love the music. Oh God, the music. My heart floats. This punk, reggae, dub, ska, folk, rave, jungle, drum and bass. How I've been studying in Bristol and fell in with that city's crew at the anti-fascist gigs in Stokescroft. Parties in the crumbly mildewed squats, veggie burgers in the cafes, dancing the night away and convert warehouses and old factories. A flood of ideas. New causes, imperialist wrongs and animal rights. How I feel I've uncovered this great secret and I want to tell the whole world about it. How it's making me feel like a better person, with a reason to be. I feel like I found something that's really real. I never knew life could feel like this. Me and Si, when we were a bit younger than you, we had a great time up in London, those mad parties at the balustrade before it got torn down and turned into flats. Back in the late 90s this was. We were a bit too young to have done all the free festival stuff. Cups and Morton in 92 and all that. God, I wish it could have been there. We went to Bristol a couple of times. A party somewhere near Bath too, if my memory serves, which it probably doesn't. 92 is most definitely the past to me, part of a history I'm unearthing. I still can't get my head around the fact that it's harder to find out certain things about events in my own lifetime than those from generations ago. 92 is the year I was born. I tell Aid this, and she and Simon laugh. Fuck me, we're old, he says. We were what, 14 then? I remember when I used to believe in things. It was fun. He gets up, stretches and walks off in search of the toilet. Shut up, Simon, you miserable bastard, shouts Aid. Looking at me, she winks. Ignore him. We used to do all that kind of stuff, what you were talking about. But it became a bit much after a while, you know? I left it all for a long time. I had a kid. I found Simon when I moved back to Kent. Now Jenny's old enough, we want to start listening to some good tunes again, you know? So Simon's not the... No, he's not. Her dad and me separated a long time ago. I know Simon from when we were kids. It's funny what life takes you. PK's roused himself and we're full of energy, walking long rounds of the festival as darkness descends and the real chaos begins. Machine gun beats, heavy thump of reggae, gypsy, klezmer, Irish folk, all seeping out the different tents and stages, mixing into a cocktail of vibrating noise. Performers from some fucked up circus are out in force, still walking harlequins stepping confidently through the crowds with painted grins, fire-juggling heathens, a mechanical dragon, its neck straining massive gears and pistons, as it eyes its audience and belches flame into the inky night. We walk through this riot. Tonight I'm synesthetic, the music tasting apple crisp and strong, fluorescent lighting pricking my nostrils with pungent and earthy aromas, the taste of cider, a burst of distorted guitar. Ahead, two chainmail figures stand on opposite platforms, blue and red electrical current coursing off of them. They swivel, face each other, enact a stage battle of energy and light, and I think it must be impossible, but there it is, it's written. PK says something about Raiden and a video game. I think of immortals in the heavens, flinging lightning bolts on capricious winds, and for the first time in my life, I feel I found the other world I was always looking for. What's that? Very thirsty. Okay, so I'm going to read just one more piece actually. My piece that's in Boscombe Revolution. I'd like to point out that my name's Gary Budden. There's a writer in this called Gary Budden as well. They're both me, in case you get confused. I was confused when I saw it. And I've discovered we're both in another anthology that's coming out. I've never met him.
I can put you in touch with him, Gary.
Yeah, I'd like to meet him.
Yeah. He lives in the East London.
Yeah. So it's weird. Okay, so this is just a short bit of prose poetry. I'm not a poet, as you've guessed, I'm a prose writer, mainly short stories. But when I saw this brief, I really wanted to write something about it, about this love I have of punk rock. So there's lots of very oblique references to songs I like in this. They're not famous songs in any way. It's called Internal Riot, which is itself the name of a Subhumans album. I thought it was a good title. I'll just tell you now, I picked the title of it. So this is Internal Riot. There was a time we thought we'd grow up and out of this, but the internal riot kept going, coming on strong again and again. Punk rock saved our life, we say smiling. There are lessons taught that we never forget, questions we keep asking even if answers never come. Despite all the squats and the speed and the cider, the wasted days and violent flares, it's all been worth it. Treasured fleeting glimpses of another life, peopled by refugees on the run from the world. We, the self-medicated idealists, the nihilists, the fuck-ups, outdated believers. Our salad days at punks picnics, piss-wet floors in Camberwell, crumbling Hackney theatres, a Soviet ship floating on the Thames, endless nights and hazy days. We grow older, adapting to fit the cracks of this concrete world. The stereo's on again and the eternal riot kicks in. An unofficial history of our country, played on vinyl, on plastic, on digital files. Utopian visions, anger, belief that we could all be better. That's something never to forget. Remember that people believed this once, they believe it now, they'll believe it again. We remember ourselves, what we did. We remember the ones before us, in their converted buses, fighting roads and living in trees. We look at the ones coming up, wide-eyed in black jackets, with the zeal of recent converts. May this internal riot never end. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you all very much for coming along and supporting Boscombe Revolution and the writers that are included in that. I'd just like to thank everybody also who travelled to come here. If you can, continue to support poetry and writing and try and support independent publishers and buy their books, and that's it. Thank you all very much.